Understood.
Welcome to That Service Dog Show. Before we get started, please like and subscribe, leave a comment or a question below, and feel free to contact me on Facebook under That Service Dog Show or email me at thatservicedogshow@yahoo.com. Today, we will discuss a topic that can cause many handlers confusion and concern, maybe even give them a little bit of heart palpitations when they first start thinking about it. When you have your partner and you feel that things are going great, then say suddenly your family decides to plan a vacation. For instance, Disney. Are you ready for this? What are some of the things that you need to be prepared for the flight and for the parks? My guest today has quite a bit of experience with long flights, as well as going to theme parks, specifically Disney. Her flights are much longer than the longest flight that I've been on with my service dog. The longest that I've flown before making a connection is only about 5 hours.
Ooh.
But that pales in comparison for my guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course I will. I'm Yvette van Leeuwen. I'm from the Netherlands, Europe for some people. And my flight is the smallest flight we can take is 6 hours, I believe. 6.5. That would be from London. So then I would have an earlier flight, and that would be then I would already flown from Amsterdam to London, London to New York. That's the smallest you can get to America. Normally, we fly just from Amsterdam straight to America and then do a transfer to Orlando. 10 hours, because we need to go to Houston or Atlanta or that kind of airports. Also because we fly a lot with KLM. So, and then we need to transfer and take another flight of 2 or 3 hours. I've got a service dog for the blind. His name is Niels. He is 4.5 years. We're partnering for 4.5 years already. And he is 6.5. He's 6.5. So, and I don't work anymore because of my disability. And I do volunteer for my own guide dog school. And I do volunteer work for a foundation here in the Netherlands for service dogs. So that's a little bit me.
So with you coming from the Netherlands, needless to say, you spend quite a bit of time in the air with your service dog, as you've already mentioned.
Yeah.
This leads me to believe that you've become a pro at flying with your service dog. I mean, going to Disney on either coast isn't exactly a hop, skip, and a jump for you.
No.
So what are some things that you feel that handlers need to know to be prepared for whenever they take on the tremendous task of traveling with their service dog? Do you take steps to prepare your dog for the flights, like taking smaller flights?
What I do is I try to avoid the UK as much as possible. That's not because the UK is bad or whatever, but the problem with the UK is that they require a worm treatment given by a vet at least, no, the most 48 hours before you arrive in the UK. And I don't like giving my dog too much worm treatments. I will give him his 3-monthly worm treatment, but when we go to the US, then it's most of the time 4 weeks. And then he would get like before we leave. And then when we get back, because you've got another stopover at the UK, you have to give that worm treatment again. So I don't like that. So I try to avoid the UK. And then I like flying into America so that the worst part, if you can call it that, because it's not, but the worst part is behind us.
Mhm.
And then we only have the small hop of 2 or 3 hours that we call it a small hop, because after 10 hours, 3 hours is not that, then you just in the air and you're down again. What I would say to people firsthand is, don't worry. Everybody, and I understand the first time I was freaking out also. I had those heart palpitations, and I was going like, okay, oh my God, if this is going to work, and I hope that, and oh, let him be, and oh, does this happen? And service dogs are pretty easy because they're trained so well. They will, my dog, out of those 10 hours, he will sleep 8 of them. And I'm freaking jealous of him because I would love to sleep 8 hours of those 10. No, what I would do is I watch a movie. I will get my dinner. I watch a movie again. I sleep something. And then I look at the clock and go like, we're only 1.5 hours in the air. That's
This is how it feels sometimes, isn't it?
yes.
And I
So
totally understand that, because I really feel that dogs, they take on your confidence or
yes.
fearfulness.
Yeah.
If your dog is confident in you and you're not showing that, oh my God, there's something I need to be worried about, they're gonna be like, oh, okay. And yes, the startup, the gearing up of the engines may surprise them, but you're like, go ahead, lay down, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Exactly. As long as you don't show your fear, anger, or frustration, any emotion that you feel, if you don't show it to your dog and you act like it's normal, then that dog will go like, okay, it's normal. For instance, I'm not a big fireworks person. It's when fireworks get off in the parks, I love it. But here in the Netherlands, they will throw those crackers not at you, but when you pass people and then you're like 30 feet away, they will throw a cracker, then I'm scared the bejeebus out of me. If I show my fear to my dog, he thinks that it's normal to be afraid of those crackers. It's not. It's something that I'm afraid of. What you said, those engines starting, in the beginning, the first flight, he will put up his ears, going like when the landing gear went out, because that sounds crazy too. That's something. The whole plane was just buzzing like for 8 hours, going like that sound, and then suddenly it goes like. Then he was going like, "What's that?" And I was going like, "Oh, that's the landing gear, nothing special."
And then there's that
like,
little bit of a hop at the end where you start to land and you're like, yeah, we're good. Yeah, well, here's
exactly.
a drink.
Yeah, that hop, that bump, he likes it. But that's the same as in the parks. Pirates of the Caribbean going down, that he loves it. So I've got a dog that likes roller coasters. Of course, he can't go in them.
Yeah.
But I think if he could, he would go in them.
He would be a roller coaster baby.
Yes, when people come around in a roller coaster and they're screaming and that sound and that speed, he will follow it. He will smile at it. He will want to play with it. So he's more a roller coaster person, dog, than I am. He loves it. He loves Dumbo, that kind of stuff. So airplane for him is not something, and right now he's used to it. He really goes like, oh, this is what I said the first time. He went sitting up going like, what's this? When the engine started and when we went up in the air, when the rotation of the motors are just blazing, you hear that more than you did before. He went sitting up and I told him it's okay. The second time his ears peered up going like, oh no, I know this. And right now he's just lying there and go like, oh, been there, done that.
Yeah.
So I must say I find it, I don't have kids. I've never flown with kids myself, but if I see around my seat how kids are responding to flying and having long flights, dogs are doing so much better. He is what I said. A kid is being annoyed after 4 hours when we think, okay, my butt still gets to hurt and I want to stand up and I want to move and oh my gosh, aren't we there yet? Aren't we there yet now? Kids get the same thing. My dog is when I'm getting that little moving like, then he will perk his head up and go and looks at me going like, oh yeah, well, I'm going back to sleep.
And for him, it really has just become another form of transportation.
Yes. For him, it's pretty much the same as going in the subway.
So one thing that other handlers can do is to take different forms of transportation, so it's not something completely unusual for them.
Exactly.
Taking the bus, taking the subway.
Yeah. And that must.
Not everybody may have a subway, but most, even small towns like mine, has a little bitty small bus system that goes around. I do prefer to get on the bigger bus systems in the bigger cities for training, but you take what you can get.
Exactly, you take what there is available for you, and even if you are in a city where there are little trams like those touristic trams going like they've got at St. Augustine, they've got it at the iDrive. Just go on everything you can go on. If it's a boat, if it's just make them familiar to all kinds of different sounds. Trained dogs from a dog school are already socialized to that, but just keep it up, because if you haven't used public transportation for 2 or 3 years, you're looking at the system going like, where do I need to put my card? How does it work again? Oh, this was, that's the same for the dog. He will not forget it totally, but it will be in the back of his mind, because I didn't ride a subway for 3 years. So, oh yeah, this sound I was forgotten about, and that kind of stuff.
So it is something that, like here in America, we have tons of owner trainers. So it's something that they need to put in as part of their training.
Exactly.
During their socializing and early development.
Yeah, I think if you are owner training, then for me, that means that you have to do the same thing that you need, that the guide dog school does for you, or service dog school does for you. And part of their socialization training is going on all kinds of public transportation. So if you decide to do owner training, then I think you're obligated to put that part in it too. And if that means that you have to travel for it because you live in the suburbs of a small town and the nearest house is 4 miles away, then you have to travel to those big cities. And
it's part of what we sign up for when we decide to do owner training.
Exactly. It's that's a choice you make if you do owner training, that you have to do that kind of special training, even though it's not in your area, then.
But it's for the welfare of the dog long term.
Exactly.
It's better to train early than introduce it at the dog's 4th birthday. Be like, guess what? We're going on train.
Yeah, because you never know. And you can always think, okay, I'm living in this small town. Our treatment is going once a year to the big city and see a movie. Perfect. But you don't know what happens when you are later on. Yeah. And for the rest, it's I think going to security, that kind of stuff, they are not allowed to ask you to get off his harness, or vest. It is different, of course, because I've got a guide dog for the blind. But it's different in the way that I've got a harness with my, what's it called? The thing that I hold on to.
Handle.
Handle. Okay, thanks. And for if you've got a service dog that's not for the blind, then you only have the vest. You don't have to put it off. What I will do is 99% of the time I'm flying with my husband. So he will go to security first. Then I will bring I always ask the security people, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to hand over and then my husband grabs his leash and he walks to my husband? Or do you want me to walk with him through the security to the machine and then walk myself back? Or how do you want to play it? And that's different every time. So just ask, they will tell you. If you are
And
alone.
for those who do try to force, there are compliance officers that you can request to come and assist. Sometimes they'll try to tell you that, okay, say your flight's leaving in 2 hours. They'll be like, well, he can't get here for 3. And they'll try to bully you. I have had that issue. But one of
luckily,
my favorite places that I try
happen.
to tell people to go to train here in the States is going to the courthouses, because you have the x-ray machines and stuff like that. I don't know how it is there in the Netherlands.
Yeah, we don't have that
that's
stuff.
a great place to practice for TSA.
Yeah. Or maybe we do. Maybe we do have it at courthouse. I've never been in a courthouse. We don't.
We just have jury duty, so.
Yeah, we don't have that jury duty in the Netherlands. So in the Netherlands, if you are in a courthouse, either you work there for the law, so then you're an advocate or something, or you're a judge, or you're the criminal. So
you don't want to have to go to court.
But that is something that I think it's a good thing. I will talk to my guide dog school about it,
that
because
might be a great place to practice for the school.
To practice for them, to go to somewhere, because I do know that at our House of Representatives, there you get checked. There they've got those checkpoints. So that's a good tip.
Yeah, whenever I went the first time, I actually called to let them know that, to find out what the process would be, because I was very green at the time. Yeah. And the lieutenant that was over the courthouse actually set it up so that it was a training day for his new people who had not dealt with service dogs. So that's a win-win.
Exactly, because that is the fact that if you are training, 99% out of the time, you will hit up somebody that doesn't know anything about what you said about the courthouse. They can use it as a training. When my dog school trains in the store, then it's also and there is a new person, they always try to walk past a new person first, because they know that they probably gonna go like, oh, dogs are not allowed in here, something like that. So it's a training for both, and if you use it correctly, what you said, then it's a win-win situation. But security is it's another thing that I understand, that you are nervous about it, but it's really, especially if you trained it before going through, then and just be left behind there, you walk back. What they do want to do is, if you don't take off your vest, and you don't have to, and I would suggest to don't do it, because then they will think it's okay. Well, it's not. They will test, they will feel around this vest, because
there's a lot of things that can be hidden into a dog vest.
Even disabled people can smuggle drugs or whatever. So, and then it's the best place is to put it with your dog, of course. So instead of carrying it on your body, because that dog is going through without any problems. So they will feel, they will swab it. They only feel the vest and the handle and the leash. They won't be feeling the dog. Of course, they will be touching the dog if they go with their hands against the vest and underneath the vest to feel if it's empty, but they won't pet the dog. They know that they are not allowed to, so that you don't have to be afraid that will be included also. Bring your treats. In America, I bring his food with me. I used not to, but I changed food, and the previous food was available in America too. So I just brought a little bit for that day, and then I bought a new bag the next day at the pet store. Right now I've got a brand that's only made in the Netherlands, so that's a little bit more difficult to get into America. Or at least to buy in America.
Yeah.
What I will do now is I just bring it with me in a closed new bag. So don't bring an open container or not even the bag and just put it somewhere else. It's for America, you're not allowed to bring food inside America, that kind of stuff. So, and if it's closed in the bag, then it's okay to bring it in. But I also have just a small bag that's the same. They never took it from me. It's just so that when we arrive, I can give him food, because in the morning I will give him his morning, his normal, usual amount of food. For water, I will try to limit his intake, so he doesn't have to pee on the plane. My dog will, and that's the difference too, my dog will poo in the morning and he will poo in the afternoon. So when I know that we arrive in America, it's for him the afternoon. So a little bit later, but it's not that it will come out of his ears or whatever. He can hold himself. It's not for I won't let him do that for days, but for a few hours, no worries. Drink wise is a little bit more, because yeah, it's still a flight, it's transportation. If something happens, then for a dog it can be turning into a more stressful situation. Not that it's stressful, but a little bit more. If somebody is yelling in the plane, he doesn't get bothered by it. But if there is a kind of, let's say there will become a fight in the plane, that happens, well, then he won't be bothered by it, but he will be a little bit stressed more than he would usually be. And then he can want to go pee as stress reliever. When there is not that much in there, then nothing can come out. So that's better.
Now, do you personally also puppy pad train your pup in case he needs to go on the plane, or does he always?
I don't train him for it. He's a difficult peer on different areas, and for him, a plane is peeing inside, and he doesn't pee inside. That's just strange for him. I could train him, but I know it's not necessary. I always bring a puppy pad with me
for that, just in case.
Say, exactly. And what will happen too is when you are signing up that you are flying with a service dog, they always have those papers that, and if you are spilling, and if you make a mess, and if the dog relieves himself, you will get a fine and you have to pay for it. And 9 out of 10 times when I step into the plane, one of the stewards comes to me and goes like, if something happens, if an accident happens, doesn't matter, it can happen, don't worry about it. And I go like, okay, I don't worry about it that it happens, but nice of you to say. So I can't imagine that they will fine you, because, sorry, but if I'm puking and I'm puking next to the bag, or I wasn't fast enough to get the bag, they won't fine me for puking on the floor.
Yeah, I've not seen that for American flights, and I don't know if that's the difference between flying internationally and domestically as far as the airline companies themselves. But yeah, I've not actually seen that myself, but it's something to look for, especially.
Yeah, if you are flying more than I
More than 8
thought
hours, I
six,
believe we have to
eight. Okay, yeah,
sign a
8 hours.
document
Then you have to
attesting
sign the
that our
docs.
dogs either
Yeah,
hold it or can relieve themselves in a hygienic way.
yes, correct. And yeah, accidents can happen. It's pretty simple if you are a child, and it happens to a lot of parents that they changing the diaper, and as soon as the diaper is off, that child starts to pee. Too bad. It's I understand that if that dog is peeing 4 or 5 times inside the airplane,
Yeah,
that's something different.
that's a lot of stress pee right there.
Yeah, or the dog is just, yeah, not a real service dog is not possible anymore, because you really have to prove a lot of stuff to fly with a service dog. I don't know. I don't know if I had to prove it, because
Well, for the United States, for those that'll be watching, the Americans with Disabilities Act does not cover flying. It's the
no,
it's the Air Carriers Access Act.
yeah,
And we sign paperwork from the Department of Justice or the DOT that again states that our dogs can hold themselves or relieve themselves in a hygienic way, and a different form that attests to their training, and that it is a legal document that you are basically attesting under penalty of law that your dog is a
yeah,
service dog.
yeah.
Not that people
That's
don't fill it out falsely, but if you are determined to have falsified, then you are held to a federal crime at that point.
yeah, that's the same forms I'm signing for traveling internationally, because those are American forms.
Yeah, and
And
you're flying
sometimes,
into America. So.
yeah, and sometimes I have to, um, for KLM, for example, that's the airline itself. I have to fill in a form about my service dog, and they want to have the name of the guide dog school. So if your owner trained, that's already more difficult
Yes.
to fill in, because that way they know that you have a real service dog and not a fake one.
Yes.
Um,
And the country itself does not, on the federal level, does not recognize those dogs that are still in training as
yeah,
well. So that goes back to the DOT form where you're saying my dog is a fully trained service dog.
yeah,
And that would incorporate training for different transportation.
yeah. And it is, I don't know if KLM is the only one. We've used United, we've used American Airlines, but I can't remember those forms, like what was on there. But I know that KLM states that you've got a dog, a service dog trained by a school that is, or is trained by an IGDF, so International Guide Dog Federation, or um, I it's a D, yeah, ADI. I don't know. It's Assistant Dog Internationals, International. That if you are that you need to be connected to those, to one or two of those, yeah,
Accredited
foundations,
schools.
accredited. Yeah, it's
So if I was to fly to the Netherlands, my dog would have to fly as a pet. Correct. Once, if like say I flew into London, and then from London it's obviously no longer an American airline. So as long as I'm on an American airline, I'm good. But the moment I leave my country, my dogs are owner trained. So most countries would then have to fly in as a pet.
I think there's a way around it, because I can't imagine here in the Netherlands we don't have that much owner trained guide dogs for the blind. But I know America does, and those people I think they must be allowed to just fly. I don't know how
It's
that.
pretty complicated. It's pretty
Yeah.
complicated once we leave the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Then
with good reason, because every country has their own laws, and we can't just
Yeah.
say, well, in my country, we're allowed to
Yes.
do this. Well, you're no longer in your country, sweet cheeks, kind of
Yeah.
deal.
Exactly. That's what I always say. It's the same thing. People, for your dog, but also for yourself. And if you comply, you need to comply to the law for yourself. So you need to comply for the law to your dog or
Correct.
service dog or whatever. Because if the law says that you serve like it is in the UK,
Mhm.
the law says, and otherwise you don't come into the country, but they will tell you he needs that worm treatment. You
Mhm.
need to send those forms from your vet that is signed by your vet within those 48 hours to the UK to show that you are having done all the things you need to do. That's the law. You need to comply to that. That's the same as the law in England or in the UK is that you drive on the left side of the road. You're not
Yes.
going to be stubborn and driving to the right side. Yeah, maybe by mistake, but that's something that you will be turned off quickly and you will be switching over to the left side pretty quick after you were driving on the right side. You're not being stubborn and keep on for the next 6 days driving on the right side. So why
Right.
would you do that stupid thing with having a service dog and not be everybody reads a book, or everybody should be reading about the country that they go to. Everybody knows that in England they are driving on the left side. If you didn't know, okay,
Now
ding
you
ding
do.
ding ding. In the UK they drive on the left side of the road. If you are going to travel to the UK, you will prepare yourself. So you have to also prepare your service dog and the things you need for your service dog, because that's just necessary to get into the country. And some countries are pretty harsh about it because it's not you've got border patrol, those TV programs.
Mhm.
They will go like, okay, you've got it for America, you've got it for Australia, that you were not having the correct visa, so you will be sent back. So the next plane out of there back to your country is that they will put you on. That's not going to happen with a service dog that is illegal. Sometimes some countries do, but some countries will take your service dog and they will kill it. So
It is a lesson for people whenever you go to countries.
yeah,
Make sure you educate yourself.
exactly.
Regardless of what country it is, make sure that you know the laws and you follow them.
Yeah.
So before we move on from flying,
Yeah.
one last question. Do you prefer bulkhead or regular seating whenever you fly with your dog?
Bulkhead.
Bulkhead.
Yeah. I always with that's also the beauty. When you are flying international, then you can call to your company that your airline that you fly with, tell them that you've got the service dog. They will note it on your reservation, and they will make seat arrangements for you. Even though you're flying 2 hours, that doesn't matter. They will always do that for you. If you're
When
flying
available, yes.
yeah, it's just always available, and that way you can request what you want.
I personally pay for the bulkhead because there may be somebody else that's also disabled that's paid for bulkhead, and they're not going to just bump them for my dog.
Yeah, that's true. Most of the time they will
So that's
bump
what I said, when available.
people. Yeah, yeah, and they
And
will
it's
just
usually they'll bump you to the best seat available in the class that you've paid for.
yes, correct.
So
They
it's
don't
not
do
like if you're
anything
in
for you.
regular economy and bulkhead is business economy, those are two different price points.
Yes, correct, and they won't they can upgrade you, and that's nice, but they're not obligated to.
Right.
You are obligated to have your dog in your space. If it doesn't fit in your leg space, then it's your problem, not of the airline. I've never encountered, we had once that normally what they do for those long flights is they try to, if the plane is not full, they try to give you an empty seat next to you. So your service dog has his own seat. He's not allowed to sit in the seat.
Yes.
Or on the seat, but then he's got more space. So they always try that. And sometimes it doesn't work, because if the plane is, if they can sell that seat, they will. It's money for them. It's a business.
So that goes back to our personal obligations of, I know my dog needs an extra seat. I'm going to go ahead and take care of this before I get on the plane.
Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't.
Fortunately, you and your husband together, the dog already got 2 seats.
So we've got 2 seats, so that works. My dog is, again, stubborn, and he is treats himself like a princess. So what happened, we were in a 4-seater in the middle, and the plane was full. They left that seat empty next to us, but they sold that seat. And then we were sitting there with 4 people. Well, my dog was laying down, and he stretched himself out. He was laying like totally stretched out, balls to the back, arms to the front, just laying there. So I said, come on, scoot in, because this is not your space. This is fine. There's nobody sitting there right now, but come on. And we moved, but his head was still out. And the steward came up to us, and he was going like, oh, don't worry about it. The person next to you that's sitting here, they should be fine with it. And I was going like, yeah, no, it's not my space. I didn't pay for the seat, so it's not mine or his space to be lying in. And he was going like, yeah, well, they will just adjust to it, and otherwise it's their problem. And I was going like, whoa. Okay. I don't think so. I don't agree with you, but okay, if you think that way, then maybe you can find another seat for her anyway. And she was not happy to be sitting next to a dog anyway. So she was moved, and then my dog stretched out again, and then he even stretched out to the 4th seat. So I was going like, no, we're really not gonna do this. You're acting too princessy. And then of course that guy was a dog lover and said, oh, I don't mind, and let him lay here. And I was going like, no way.
Which you'd rather have than someone that looks down and be like, that dog better not get closer to me.
Yeah. And what I said, he's supposed to be in my space. And if I don't want that, if I need more space, then I should buy more seats. Yeah. And I can't obligate somebody next to me to be with the dog. I don't want to do that. And I won't allow him to do that. And even though that guy said it was okay, I was going like, no, you're on a flight for 10 hours. I'm not. You're turning your leg right now just so that he can put his paw there. No way. So bulkhead seats for us, also because then we've got a little bit more leg space. But if it's somewhere else in the plane, I'm happy to be flying, so I don't mind.
Well, especially you're flying in on the larger planes coming across the ocean and stuff like, so it's a little bit different than the bulkheads for the small commuter hopper planes and stuff like that, where you're just driving or flying from maybe one city to the next state over here in the States. Those bulkheads can be a little bit tight, but especially coming across the ocean, those bulkheads are nice and roomy, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and those flights, I really like the bulkhead because you've got the space and he's got his space. If we're flying from Atlanta to Orlando,
Mhm.
that's a small, what I said, it's a small hop. Then for those 3 hours, he can curl up like, because he can stretch out and be on four, in the leg space of 4 seats, but he can also curl up like a donut and be only in my space. So
Which is where that tuck training for the owner trainers really come in handy, making sure that
yes,
your dog learns how to become a small ball.
yeah,
Because otherwise, it's going to cost you more money whenever you're on a plane because it's your responsibility to keep your dog in your space.
exactly. And of course it helps when you're flying with 2 people.
Yes.
That makes the space a little bit more. But
Mhm.
yeah, that for owner training, curling up like a small little ball, that helps because sometimes you are in a full plane and you only have your own space. So
Yes.
and
Fortunately, the last time I flew was during COVID and I had a whole row and my dog is small. So
that was the best time flying when COVID ended, because of course America was closed, so we couldn't
uh-huh.
get in. So I believe November 8th, 2021, 22, 21. Yeah, 8 November 8th, 2021, it opened. November 10th, we flew to America.
You were like, time to go get our fix.
And yes, we had space. On the way back, I had 4 places, so just a whole row just for myself, so I could stretch out and lie
Uh-huh.
there and sleep. And I like that.
That was some good flying there.
Yeah.
Okay, so going to Disney is quite different than regular public access that a lot of people have in their everyday part of their lives.
Yes.
Very different than walking down the aisle of your local grocery store or big box store. So going down to Main Street Disney, getting onto ride queues and even getting on the rides that the dog's allowed to do. What are some things that you as a Disney pro did to start training for your dog, or was your dog already pretty much Disney ready whenever he came home from the guide dog school?
He wasn't Disney ready. They did went to carnivals and that kind of stuff as the puppy raiser family. When the puppy is at the family as a socialization, again, the socialization of the dog, then they went to a carnival, they went to all that kind of stuff. Marketplaces where there are more people. I don't think he was in a amusement park or a theme park before. When the guide dog school came to home train me, we also went for a flight to Dublin and back, just to train how does it work, how does it go with flying, what you said. Just he was startled by the noise of the plane engine starting, and then okay, I have to tell him it's okay, and then just pretty much ignore it because it's okay. We also went to a theme park in the Netherlands, the Efteling, and that's, yeah, of course not the same as Disney, but it's like your Hershey Park idea
You're doing the
of,
stair steps up the stairs instead of going all the way up to the top of the landing. You did one step at a time.
yeah, and we don't have that. Yeah, Disneyland Paris is the nearest that we've got that is up there, but it was busy. You've got the rides are pretty much the same, so that doesn't matter. It's, of course, it's not the same rides, but if you step into a boat, if you step into a small world boat, a pirate's boat, or a boat in the Efteling, that's the same thing. In the Efteling, it's even better because they've got a boat ride where you've got it's the same as the Kali River Rapid ride, where you have the moving platform and then the moving water. It are boats, of course. It are those seats of the water ride. You go, the platform is one direction, the boat is the other. So it's a moving thing that you have to get into while you are, and that he found that difficult. I can imagine, because we as people always find those things difficult. They couldn't stop that ride. They couldn't stop the platform. So I hated that. Because if you are in Disney, they always can stop the ride for you. Haunted Mansion, you've got those conveyor belts. Please let them stop the ride. Please do. Even though you think it's not necessary, unless your dog is wearing shoes, stop the ride. Because you can't stop, you can't go on the ride and then ride the whole ride and then get off and have it stop then. If they let you get on moving, then you get off moving. If they stop it when you get on, they will also stop it when you get off. On is not that much the problem. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's no problem for your dog. Off, it's a conveyor belt. If those nails get cut between, or get stuck between the conveyor belt and the end, you don't want to do that. You really don't want to have your nails ripped off the paw of your dog. So stop the ride, please. And even they will go like, yeah, we can slow it down. No, complete stop. Because slowing down, again, those nails can get stuck anyway. And then, that's really
one
not
thing
something.
that people can train their dogs with this. And again, make sure your dog's wearing shoes. Is escalator training, because that's very similar to getting on and off rides.
Correct.
Now, my dogs love escalators. I know a lot of people are like, they get, the very idea does scare them. If the dog's wearing shoes, it does make it a lot safer. Now, if your dog has a lot of loose fur, you do, like get some vet wrap to kind of get the bottom part kind of, to make it a little bit safer. But I've been very fortunate because, again, my first service dog, he has absolutely loved escalators. And while I've been training my second one, she's picked up on that excitement. And she's like, well, if General loves it, it must be good. So she's never had an issue with escalators.
Here in the Netherlands,
so we're able to do it on and off with no problem. So when she eventually goes to Disney, then that will be very, very much one of those things that we're already prepared for. And of course, a Disney day requires shoes for a big part, for because she has the crotch. She has the, where she'll be able to sweat through them and stuff like that. But so taking shoes, whether you plan to have your dog wear them the whole time or not, is
necessary
for safety reasons. It's not just for the heat. There have been times where I've walked out of a restaurant and I go out and I go load my dog up. I take his shoes off. I get ready to get into my side of the car, and I look down and there's a Junkies needle there in the parking lot. My dog, I know, walked past that. Without the shoes on, he could have gotten pricked. So, shoes are not just for whenever it's heat and, any place that you may have any issue with safety.
Exactly. And here in the Netherlands, that's different, escalator-wise, because we are not allowed to bring our service dogs, or in this case, the guide dogs for the blind, on an escalator.
Interesting.
That's just prohibited. So when I signed my school contract, that was in there too. Here in the Netherlands, all the guide dogs for the blind are not becoming, I won't get ownership of that dog.
When he's going to you.
It's the school is the owner up until the point that he goes into retirement. And so right now, yes, he's my service dog, but I'm not his owner. And I
So
will
that would
treat
be part of those Disney rides. Be like, I
exactly. I'm
need you to
not allowed
stop it. I'm not allowed to walk my dog whenever this is
exactly.
moving.
And my school, they told me going like, okay, we train it once with you, just to make sure, because you're traveling so much, you never know what you encounter. If the elevator is broken and there is no other elevator and there is only a conveyor belt or only an escalator, then and there's no stairs, only this, then you have to, because you need to go up or down.
Yeah.
You can't
Or
stay there forever.
you may end up having to walk for 15, 20 minutes looking for that next elevator.
Yeah.
And so like
And
if
is
you're
that
going to like a
necessary?
place like Washington, DC, where with some of these huge metro stations,
Yeah.
sometimes the elevator's broke and it may take you quite a long time to find another elevator.
Yeah. And if you don't find one, or there isn't one, or that one is broken too, then you need to use that. So he was going like, okay, I'm gonna show you how it needs to be done. And I was going like, when I'm out of the country, I always have my shoes in my bag, so I can always put his shoes on, so I know that at least the whole getting stuck with his nails and fur and that kind of stuff into the escalator or whatever is not going to happen. But
yes,
if I can avoid it, I will avoid it, because yeah, that's
but
also
that goes to show for everybody who's going to be watching this video later on that you need to prepare even if that's not part of your normal, because I know a lot of people who say they've never trained their dogs on escalators at all.
Yeah.
Here you are, you're actually legally not allowed to use an escalator, but your dog is trained to use one, because again, you never know.
Exactly. And because, and I was only trained because of the fact that we do that much international traveling, that I know in America it is arranged, but I don't know how it will be when I go to China, a country where there is maybe one service dog in the whole country of those billions of people. That service dogs aren't, no, dogs are for food and not for,
they're not as well known as being service dogs
exactly,
in a great number of countries still.
Yeah, and if you are there, then take Japan. Sorry, but I've never seen a disabled Japanese person. We've been to Japan, but Grandpa of 96 is walking faster uphill those stairs at those shrines than I am. So I didn't see one single disabled
there
person.
are many cultural differences across the board whenever you go from one country to another, and I'm sure that you've seen so many of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna turn on the battery for a second. So there we go. That should be fine. Yeah, I thought I already plugged it in, but I didn't put it on. So now I got a message going like, you only got 5% of battery left.
Like, oh no.
Oh no, I didn't put it on. Yeah, put it in, but not on. Dumb. Okay. That's
so what's been the biggest issue that you've had to work on when doing Disney? What has your dog just decided it did not want to do, if there was anything?
Yeah, I'm thinking, was there something that he didn't want to do?
For instance, you know, the characters.
Oh,
was he okay
fireworks. He loves characters. He loves characters. Face characters, dressed characters, or like Winnie the Pooh or Pluto, or he loves them. So
he didn't really require a lot of training to prepare him for that. He was just like, I'm good to go.
Yes, exactly. We didn't train him for it. They didn't train him for it. He loves people anyway. I've got a golden retriever, so that's already as
one
long
of the tab 4 that is recognized across the board as this is a recognized service dog breed.
Yeah, but also
used a lot by a lot of programs, and whereas
and the fact that he's breeds. as long as you pet him, he's your friend. So if you are in Mickey Mouse, if you are Winnie the Pooh, I don't care what you are, who you are, as long as you pet me, it's okay. As long as you treat me like you're happy to see me, I'm happy to see you. That helps a lot. No, the only thing is fireworks. I've got he's really scared of fireworks, so we can't do fireworks anymore. And
Fireworks
yeah,
is very common for dogs because a lot of people think it's the sound, but it's really the vibration that the
it's
fireworks,
the
especially the
vibration, it's the
powerful ones.
movement of, and even not even the vibration, it's the movement of air and the smell.
Yeah.
So it's all those things together makes it even. If
And
there's
yes, they may
only
not like the noise, but you can still get those headphones on the dog, and they're
yeah,
still going to have, if they're going to have an issue, they're going to have an issue because
yes,
they're
yeah,
just not used to all that in on their body and everything that
exactly. Yeah,
I actually tell people, because now I know that you probably would not be able to do this in your country. I don't know how the laws regarding firearms are, but here in the States, I actually recommend going to gun ranges to practice because the vibrations from a gun being shot off is very similar to fireworks.
yeah.
So you can practice at a gun range, and by the time your dog is good at the gun range, you're good for fireworks.
Yeah, and even then, they can be scared of it.
Yeah.
Of the fireworks. What they also say is because we can't do the, yeah, there are some kind of gun ranges here, so you could, it's not easily to get into. I think if you ask for training, they would let you. They would set something up. They will work with you.
And that's something else that you can think about with
Yeah,
the volunteering with the guide dogs.
yeah,
Fireworks training at the
yeah.
fire
Oh,
at the gun
at
range.
our guide dog school, they are part of a. It's not hunting. It are hunting guns. They are not hunting, but they are shooting those hunting guns at their shooting range. And so the dogs that are in school train, because we've got external trainers and internal trainers. When the dogs are having their education at the school, then they know those sounds and those vibrations, but they still can be scared of the fireworks. And
Because they're not expecting it at first. Whenever
yeah, and mine is, and that's okay, or at least I rather have it not, but that's more for him than for me. We just decided when we knew, okay, that's the end of fireworks for us for now.
and you can always plan to be on a ride or something like that during fireworks.
What we do is to make sure that we are for the night fireworks, because those are longer. We always make sure that we are out of the park. We just get back to the hotel and stay there. At Magic Kingdom, you've got those shows in front of the castle where they will shoot off fireworks. It's not much. It's like 4 little twizzlers or whatever it's called that shoot off, and then that's it. It's really nothing. But for him, it's so when we hear the show, we go inside and just wait and do a ride, or we just wait it out till it's over and then do whatever we want to do, just to make sure that he's not bothered by it. I think right now he's pretty much to the point that he would pass it without problems, but I just don't want to I just don't want to do that to him. Yeah, that's the same thing. If you know your child is terrified of being scared, you're not gonna yell boo to your child constantly around the corner. You're not doing that because that's not comfortable for that child or person, because adults can have those problems too.
Yeah.
So you're not doing that. So why should I expect my dog to do that? Yes, he's my service dog, but it's not that doesn't have any rights anymore. That's the welfare of the dog again. That's very
Yes.
important to, yeah.
Well, just like
we're
filming this on Halloween, and
Yeah.
I know that it's more of an American holiday,
Yeah.
as far as the way it's celebrated. But I mean, it's as big as Christmas over here. It really is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've seen so many people trying to say that your service dog should be okay going into some of these fright houses, the alleged haunted houses.
Yeah.
And so many people are like, no, why would you do that to your dog? Well, the dog should be able to handle it. No, you know, it's hard for people who know that someone's going to be chasing after them with a chainsaw
Yeah.
but know that nothing really bad's going to happen without them still screaming because it scares them. Dog doesn't know that that person's not really going to hurt them. They just know
Exactly.
somebody's chasing after me and my human with a freaking chainsaw.
Yeah. And they could even, they could attack. And that's not because of the fact that it's a bad service dog. Because people
It's not
think
something
when a
that
dog
can really be
bites,
truly ethically trained for.
yeah, and it's for me, it's they always say when a service dog bites, it's not a real service dog or it's not trained well. Yes, to a degree. If the dog bites out of nowhere, that's not allowed.
But
If a
usually
dog,
it is out of
but
fear, and why put your dog in a fearful situation?
yeah, but if somebody's chasing me with a chainsaw or whatever, doesn't matter. If somebody chases me or scares me or in the dog eyes attacks me,
Mm-hmm.
then my dog is allowed to attack the attacker.
In his
And
mind, you're being provoked.
exactly, so he's protecting me. I should be glad with that, but not if it's fake. So I wouldn't put him in a
Yeah, now,
in a haunted
and
house.
there are different levels. Like, I have actually been able to be almost coming to blows with someone and having to call 911 and a lot of kind of good stuff. But my service dog was able to maintain his composure because he knew that mama had it.
Yeah.
But being chased after by a chainsaw or, you know, some other, you know, out of the ordinary, not really
Yes,
going to happen on your average, even, you know,
exactly. And he probably wouldn't attack. I think that he will only attack when I'm really attacked. So
Yeah.
not before that, but just wait till I'm being grabbed and then. But yeah, I don't know. It's luckily something I never encountered before.
And you know, here in the States, we actually have it as part of the ADA. Whenever it was put into the Federal Register, where all of our laws are actually recorded, it talks about minimum protection, and the most that our dogs can do are non-violent.
Yeah.
Without provocation. Now, again,
Yeah.
if you have just had your head slammed on the ground, that's a provocation. But the dog should not intervene before your head's got slammed into the ground.
Exactly. And it is, if he does, even if it's before, when somebody really attacks me, I wouldn't mind, because that's protection.
Yeah.
If he does
Well,
it
you
out
know,
of just
here, if he did, you know, if they react before that head to the ground kind of deal, then, you know, it's kind of a gray area, and the dog would have to be retired and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I
that's
try
the
to tell
same.
people whenever they say that they want their dog to protect them, I'm like, which one do you want more? You protect your dog, or your dog protect you, and then you're no longer going to have a service dog.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's the same in the Netherlands. I know it's a gray area, because if I tell the dog school, whichever, because we've got multiple in the Netherlands, yeah, but I was attacked, some will say, yeah, that's too bad, it doesn't matter. And some will say, okay, there's an if you were attacked, then it's an exception because of the fact that
let's go back into training, see if this was a one-time
if it did something to him where he will be acting out sooner, or was it something that was just once because you were attacked. So there will be it will be looked at, but yeah. And some schools go like, okay, it's just black and white. He doesn't need, whatever reason, I don't care, biting is done. Yeah, and I think it depends on what was the case that the dog bit in. But yeah, for haunted houses, you know your dog the best, and if you think that he can handle it, why not bring him along? Only if you notice that the dog isn't handling it, you go out as soon as you can.
And unfortunately, a lot of them are not set up so that you can bypass everything that's already scared the dog.
Yeah.
You're either going to keep on going or you have to go through what's already scared the dog. So it's not like, oh, there's an exit stage right or left. And
yeah, that would be something that I would decide to not do it, just to, because there's no escape route for him. But that's the same for me. People say you don't need to go to a concert. You shouldn't bring your dog to a concert. You shouldn't bring your dog to a basketball game or a football game or...
Well, even some of the rides at Disney, some dogs can handle them well and some of them can't. Like
what I said, Pirates of the Caribbean, it has, there's a reason that dogs can't go into roller coasters. And I'm a firm believer of that. I'm also happy because I don't do roller coasters, so that way he won't drag me on the roller coaster. He loves, really, watching him slinky dog is just, it's amazing to see. Pirates of the Caribbean has that drop. So, and for some dogs, that's too much. And he is smiling from ear to ear. Some dogs can go into Dumbo if you don't move up and down. If you just stay down, and that turning around is no problem for them. He loves going up. The higher, the better. Smiling again.
My older dog's done
going in rounds.
World twice, and we've done Dumbo, and we've done the Pirates and the Frozen. Frozen's got a drop in it too. For those of you who don't know, so if your dog did not do Pirates of the Caribbean very well, stay away from Frozen. All right. So one last question.
Yeah.
All righty. Which park do you feel is the easiest out of the core Disney land or world parks for a service dog, and which one do you think is the hardest?
Ooh, I think they're equal. Yeah, I don't think one park is easier than another. The difficulty is I went with him to Disney World multiple times first. So for him going into Disneyland, into California Adventure, we went first, and he was really going like, oh, this is new park, just okay. Then he went into Disneyland, and he walked me, and we went to the left, so we came into New Orleans Square, and he was really going like, whoa, they changed this really fast. I just was here a couple of months ago, and now they have a whole new, He was really looking like, I'm confused. We should be at a whole different country. This is not correct. This is not here. It wasn't here before. I was really going like, you're in a different park right now, because walking into Main Street, everything is the same. So he was really confused, going like, huh? Really? And because we did those parks later, and we've been so many times to Disney World, I didn't know where the relief areas were, for example. Well, in Disney World, he knows them. My dog knows when we go to Toy Story, then we almost always walk from the entrance side, so not from the Star Wars side. So we walk from the entrance side, and then he knows that right before you go into Toy Story Land, on the left, on the right-hand side, there's a relief area. So he will just walk to the relief area. So now it's my time. Just wait a second. Now I have to go. So he just knows them. In Africa, the part where you've got those little stores, there's a small, teeny tiny little, like, post stamp size of a service dog area. You know, that it's also behind the cart, so it's really just, oh, don't let those dogs be here, because it's really secret there. It's also really strange to be there, because you're almost on the lap of the salesperson, but okay. He knows it. So if we walk there and he really needs to go, he will just walk straight to that area and go like, okay, you know what I want. So yeah, he's taking care of himself pretty good. And if I walk, I also walk with him, going like, okay, we're going for you for P now. Then he goes like, okay, I know where the nearest is. Where nearest area is where I can go. So follow me. So perfect. I like that.
The Disney World, though, very much prepared him for Disneyland. He just had to realize, I got to learn a whole new park now.
Yes, he was really, really confused with how those setups were going. Like, this is not what I'm used to of, because yeah, of course, we know you step into Disneyland. He doesn't. He just steps back into Disney and everything looks the same. So if we go left here, then I see not this. But yeah,
it really would be interesting to, just hear a dog tell you exactly what they think for a day.
I would, if I start here, if I really start, because I think of what he's thinking, but that's of course not what he's thinking, but as soon as I really start hearing him talk to me, then I need a whole other service dog. And
be trained for that too.
But if they would tell me up front, going like, okay, next week on Friday, he will talk for a day in human language to you. Oh my gosh, I would ask him so many questions. Yeah.
That could both be a dream and a nightmare of every service dog handler.
Yeah, because that service dog could also tell you, okay, you think I like you, but I hate the guts out of it. I like Disney, but it's too bad you're with me. They could. You never know. I don't think so, but yeah, you never know what they will tell you.
Well, is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you'd like to add before we close out?
I don't think so.
We've touched on quite a few different things.
Yeah, I think so. And if listeners have some questions, just ask them and I will try to answer them. And I would love to come back to talk about cruising.
Let's see. I've got one plan to be released on the 12th. So this one will be released on the 26th of November.
Okay.
Just to give you a heads up.
Yeah. And, so people can just ask and I will be happy to come back to tell them all about cruising and the parks more, and just when I'm welcome.
You and your dog have been well traveled.
Yes.
All right, so that is it for today's show. I believe it ran a little long, but we kind of covered two different topics. We both did flying as well as Disney, so that is the reason why it was a little bit longer. But for those who have stayed with us this long, we appreciate you.
Yes.
And please like and subscribe. And again, if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. And someone, either Yvette or myself, will answer you back, or you can contact on Facebook and at yahoo.com for That Service Dog Show. For now, that's it, and I will see you in about 2 weeks.
Thank you for having me.